All I want to do is just get people the truth. That's it. It's about time. We've been lied to for way too long. My name's Phillip Drake. I was an independent contractor for the federal government, so I contracted with multiple agencies. Now, an independent contractor is different than a contracting company. I contracted with multiple three-letter agencies. I contracted with these three predominantly. I was handled by predominantly the OIG, Office of Inspector General. But the Office of Inspector General would basically lease me out to different agencies. And then I would work with that agency. I would report to that particular agency. A lot of times with the things that I was asked to do, I could pretty well name my price, which is the reason why I done it. You know, back in that time, I cared more about money than I cared about anything else. That's just the person I was at the time, you know. It's the gray area. It's the loopholes that they can use to basically violate the rights of the American people, violate the Constitution, spy on the American people. It's like the CIA. The CIA cannot operate on American soil. They can't spy on the American people by law. So what do? They hire independent contractors to do it. This is a third party. Plausible deniability. They can always just say, you know, we had nothing to do with it. I was nothing more than a tool. And anytime that anything was passed down from any of the administrations, and I worked for two, and both of them did this, that violated the Constitution, and that none of these three-letter agencies could be part of, I got the phone call. The orders come from the commander-in-chief. I go and execute the plan. I'm not going to go into great detail about my team, but my team consisted of people who knew this realm very, very well, and that worked on their own, but worked for me, if that makes any sense. I led my own team, but I was the only one that contracted. My entire career revolved around violating the rights of the American people. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what it was. You uproot your livelihood. You go there. You become part of the community. You make the people in the community trust you. And then you manipulate situations so you can follow out your orders.
It's upsetting to learn that there are individuals who will betray their country for $1, for a paycheck.
It is.
It's upsetting. It really is.
And I was one of them. I can make no excuses. All I can do is offer apologies. I will never make an excuse for the reason why I did what I did, because there is no excuse. All I can do is offer my apologies, and from this day forward, educate people on how it really works. I myself am involved in politics now. I'm helping someone build a survivor center. The team that I had, most of the team that I had, whenever I resigned, they left. You know, they came with me. They worked with me anyway. So now we are on our own. We have our own NGO. We have our own independent contracting business called American Independent Contractors. And our sole purpose is to rescue kids who are being sex trafficked. And we don't ask permission to go in. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about it. If the kids are in need and their innocence is in jeopardy, if their life's in jeopardy, we go. We were trained to do it. We go, which is why we're building a survivor center, because we kind of need it, because you can't trust the government to house the children. You can't. You know, I've seen a lot of that. But to get back to the topic, I want to talk about QAnon. Q. And I'm not proud of this by no means. So if at any time I laugh about something I say, it's not because I think it's funny. It hurts. It hurts what I had a hand in doing to the American people and manipulating a large group of people, which I love dearly. And I'm going to also explain why that group of people were the target. Now, QAnon, when the orders were passed to create QAnon, and they were passed down from the administration, because none of the three-letter agencies had the constitutional rights to create this. Therefore, they had to reach out. The administration had to reach out to independent contractors. At the time, I was the top independent contractor in my field. Sometime mid to end of 2016 is when we started it, and it was released, I believe, because it was out of my hands by then. By the time it went to the tech people and was released, I believe it was released in October of 2017. I know the year is correct. The date, the month, I'm not real sure of, but I know for a fact it was released in 2017. Because we did our part, and then we're not tech people. I'm not a tech person. That was out of my expertise. The psychological part of it, that was my expertise. So that was what I worked on. When the orders were passed for QAnon to be released, of course, it wasn't named QAnon. It didn't have a name at the time. We were given the book, the English translation of Mein Kampf. That translates into My Struggle. And if you don't know what that is, that's Hitler's playbook. It's an autobiography / playbook. He explained what he did to try to justify why he was doing it. So we were given that, and we were told to create this thing, which had no name yet, based off the book of Mein Kampf. And it was to go after the Democratic Party, but not to go after the Democratic Party. And that's where it gets like really weird. In Mein Kampf, it was about Hitler. He was justifying why to exterminate Jews, his struggle. You know, he was always the victim, so on and so forth. You know, he played the victim throughout the book. He played the victim throughout his reign as a dictator. But we took where he had spoke about the Jews doing the bloodletting, the Jews were vermin, so on and so forth. The Jews were the bad guys. We replaced Jews with Democrats. Okay. Now you got to remember, this is all about dividing and conquering. This isn't about political parties. This is just about dividing the people. If we're divided, we're weak. If we're weak, we can be controlled by the minority, which are the elites, which is the establishment. And ultimately, that was the goal. We were to base it off the book Mein Kampf, and we were to micro-target people within the Christian faith. Now, before we go any further, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to get in an uproar with me saying that. But I want to explain to you why people of the Christian faith were targeted. People of the Christian faith tend to love this country more than anybody else in this nation.
I'll agree with that.
They tend to. Not only that, they make up at the time between 60 and 63% of this nation were Christian. Used to be a lot higher, but it's lower now. They were the majority. They were the powerhouses within the nation. Their faith was based on Scripture. So we were told to figure out a way to manipulate their faith into adding something else to it to create a living Savior. So we were to attack the people who love the country the most. We were to attack the most strong, the most powerful, to break them down and divide them. And I'm pretty sure we all can agree that what is now known as QAnon, I'm not bragging, but did a pretty good job of dividing a whole lot of Christians. And that was its intent. Not to uncover any truths, not to do any of that, but that was part of what people call the PSYOP. And one of the ways that we were to use to target was a technique that we learned in 2016 called campaign harvesting. Now, we did not harvest a campaign, but we used the same technique. So, and the company that we used was Cambridge Analytics, a European company. I don't mind pointing them out. They can sue me if they want. I don't care. Bring it. What this company would do, predominantly on Facebook, but other social media posts, they would put out what we call ghost posts. You put out in somebody's private messages a post that looked like a legitimate document of a lie. 3 hours later, it would go away. But you remember reading it somewhere. It was completely false. You know, people would start talking about it. And then communities of those people would start talking about it. And then on social media, they'd be chatting back and forth about it. So that lie that was put out has now become a truth to the people. And that lie was to actually divert you from the truth. That's what it was done for. This is not the first time it's ever been done. Within these techniques, we use trigger words. So trigger words are things that whenever people hear, it triggers them remembering that false truth that they were told. It triggers them into remembering it so they keep talking about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Mein Kampf taught us that if you repeat something 3 times or you have someone repeat something 3 times to someone else, it becomes a truth no matter how asinine the lie is. So those trigger words were PSYOP. You guys just heard me use that word because it's a common term. Cabal and deep state. Those were the trigger words. Now, does all this exist? Of course it exists. It's not like made up words. We all know it exists. It was just trigger words used in social media to help further manipulate the people. It now became anytime you said PSYOP, Cabal, or deep state, there was a conspiracy attached to it. So you got half the nation believing that this is true, but every time the other half of the nation heard these words, no matter what you said afterwards, it was automatically a conspiracy, and you were a right-wing nut job or a far right-wing nut job, And there was absolutely no reason to believe it. Now, a lot of the stuff that was put out there is a lie. It was made up. But still, it caused that division within the nation. It divided us further, which was intentional. And this is one of the many operations that were done in the last 5 to 6 years to further divide the nation. That's why we are more divided than we have ever been. Because of my experience, I don't like either party. Both parties are exactly the same, and all of our elected officials are corrupt. That's just my experience. I mean, that's what I've seen. That's what I witnessed. That was my livelihood. So this is things that I know. We've all heard, united we stand, divided we fall. It's very true. There was other falsehoods that we were supposed to put out. We were supposed to manipulate numbers for both parties, not just for one. So don't think that it was for one party or another. This was for both parties. If you look right now, 47% of the entire nation is independent. 27% is Republican, and 27% is Democrat. Now, I know that don't add up to 100 because there's some like small percentages of other things floating around out there. That's why it doesn't add up to 100. Now, what we were to do was to completely silence the independents, wipe their voice completely off the map. It was almost impossible to control or manipulate the mindset of an independent. So out of this 27% Republicans, they make you believe that 52% support Donald Trump. When people hear that, they think 52% of 100%, which is the majority, and blah, blah, blah. But that's not the case. It's 52% of 27%, which is a small fraction of the nation. If this part of a Democrat loyalist is listening, I promise you I'm going to get to your side. Don't click off the video. The real numbers are 52% of the 27% follow Donald Trump, consider themselves as MAGA. When we get to it, we're going to find out that MAGA was manipulated from this. That's fake too. That leaves a remainder of 48% of Republicans. So what are you supposed to do with that 48%? You put them over here with the independents and you silence them. You got to get rid of them. They cannot get their voice out there no matter what. Now with Joe Biden, it's something like 41% of Democrats. It's either 41 or 43. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but it's one of the two. It's 41% or 43% of Democrats support Joe Biden. The remainder of that 27% does not support Joe Biden. They want somebody else. They don't like him. I understand why. So what are you supposed to do with that remainder? You got to silence them. You only give the voice to these, and you eliminate the masses because the masses are powerful. This is why we're so divided. And I promise you, I'm going to get back to the QAnon thing. It has a lot to do with it. These two ultra minority groups, not all MAGA is QAnon either. So I want to make that. But these are MAGA or Q. These over here are like the Antifa. They don't really have a clan to stick to, but I'm going to just say Antifa. That's that mindset. So it's two separate mindsets. So it's the ultra minority from these two parties completely eliminating everybody else. We're giving them all the voices. But these voices of these people, of these minorities, have been manipulated. And the reason why they've been manipulated was intentionally because of operations like this. See, our government, our politicians do not need the majority to rule. They need a loud minority. And they need to cause such a distance between the two, which is why we say far right and far left. And they have to manipulate one more than the other, which they have manipulated this side more than that side, so that they'll constantly argue with one another. And these will say, no, I know the truth. And these will say, no, I know the truth. These will say, my guy's better. These will say, no, my guy's better, even though neither guy's any good. It also makes it to where the rest of us are just sitting here going, well, we got to vote for what we think the lesser of the two evils are. Well, folks, when you vote for the lesser of two evils, you get crap like this. They hire people like the person I used to be. You're not in control.
So it sounds like they're taking all of the middle, all of the sane options that we would have vote for, and they're really just denying us those options.
Yeah, they're just wiping them out. They're just wiping their voices out. That's why operations like QAnon are created, to keep the establishment in power and keep the people fighting. If we're too busy fighting one another, we're not really paying attention to what they're doing. If this side wasn't fighting this side and we were communicating with one another, we would know this was a lie. And they would know that that was a lie. You take both sides. You take the far left and the far right. And then listen, it was done to the far left too. I'm just talking about this one particular thing. And it's the same techniques and everything, just use different lingo and different things, you know. It's done intentionally. One of the things that's hard for people to understand, we've all heard we're going down the rabbit hole, right? Stay away from rabbit holes. Stay away from them, because it was people like me, like what I used to be, that intentionally set those rabbits out and had already had pre-dug rabbit holes. And in that pre-dug rabbit hole, we would put a truth, which looked legit, but it was a complete lie to fit the narrative of either this side or that side. So they could say, we found evidence, we found truth, we're right, you're wrong. Man, this is hard for me to say. That's why we were ordered to target Christians and to target their faith, to make them believe, to manipulate them into thinking that they would have a savior here on earth that were suffering the same way that they are suffering, that was like them, but was standing up and fighting for them. That was our orders. And that administration that passed our orders down, it came straight from the top. And he was to be that savior. Wow. And that's hard for people to hear, but that's how it works. But I also want you to understand he was not the first. This is not the first time. It's the establishment. The establishment does this. There is not going to be some billionaire savior or some politician that's been in politician for 40 years that doesn't even know where he's at half the time. They are not going to save you.
Right.
We are our own saviors. Only we can save us, and only we can save this nation. And we've got to quit falling for everything they put out there just because it's fun. I call it political theater. It's drama. And people are attracted to that.
Because we don't really understand the power that we have.
Yeah, we don't understand the power that we have. We are in control. That's why we were targeted. We are the masses. We are the majority. We will continue being targeted. But we have to understand that we as a nation are all brothers and sisters, no matter your political beliefs, no matter your religious beliefs. And if you want to stop all these three-letter agencies, if you want to stop nonsense like this right here coming out, if you want to stop all the killings, if you want to stop all that, and you want to stop all the hate, you cannot think for a second that you can get that by electing someone that is spewing the nonsense and the hate. They're just using fear tactics. The reason why these things are created, the reason why independent contractors exist for all the three-letter agencies, is because they are terrified of we the people. They are scared of us. We hold all the power. We just have to quit letting them play us. And the people who move up high in the food chain, so to speak, are the yes men and women. They are the betas. They will not stand up to their superior officers or their leadership or to the administrations because they're weak. And that's how they get to that point. That's one of the many reasons why we're in the position of where we're at. Not only that, a lot of them just lack in intelligence, period. Two of the greatest men that I know, I mean, really phenomenal individuals, work for one of those three agencies there. All they're doing is just trying to fight and steer things in the right direction. But there's not many of them left. And they'll never move up. They'll stay where they're at. They're always questioning authority. They'll say, no, we shouldn't do that. No, that's not right. You know, they question things. So they'll never move up in the ranks, and they should be at the top. Great human beings. And if my plans work out right to eliminate all this stuff and to bring the people together, I will personally put them at the top because that's where they need to be.
Look, I've worked in 6 different agencies, maybe 7, depending on how you slice it, whenever they changed hands and changed names. But yeah, I know a lot of good people, patriots in the intelligence community, in the diplomatic community. And the ones that, and it does get very, very political. The higher you get, it's a political rank structure. And unless you're on board with this, I hate to use the word cabal now after you wrote it out that way, but this global criminal syndicate that is really out for a one world government, a global Marxist model. If you're not on board with that agenda and you're not willing to betray the American people to get there, you're only going to go so far. It's heartbreaking and it's very upsetting to understand that that's how our system is set up. It's literally set up against us now.
What we need to see is also things like this is what give us the president that we got now. So that's what people don't understand. It's that division. It allows the establishment to choose. When we start believing these false truths, basically destroying our own lives and our country by believing false truths, it just gives them more power and more power and more power, to where ultimately we're going to become a dictatorship. I mean, that's what every leader in look, I work for Obama and I work for Trump. They both wanted to be dictators. This right here is probably where a bunch of people is going to get pissed off. We were ordered to make Trump seem like the savior for the Christians. It was Trump that gave us these orders to create this nonsense. Completely up to you if you want to believe me or not. Just think about it. Cut off your political loyalist brain, your party loyalist brain, just for a second, and think about it. Think about all the division that has been created in the country. Think about it. We're being played. As I said, I worked for the Obama administration as well. I worked under the Obama administration, not directly for, but as a contractor under the Obama administration. Trump was supposed to be president, not Hillary Clinton. And I know that's really hard for people to get their mind wrapped around. They needed a puppet with an egotistical mindset, which hopefully we can all agree that he has that. That all they had to come to and say, look, it's bad, but we can make you the greatest president, because it's all he wanted. That's why he wanted all this done. He wanted to go down in history as the greatest president ever. You never could say to the man that you'll be doing the American people a great justice. You always had to say you're doing yourself a great justice. I'm not here to bash Trump. I'm just here to tell the truth, and the administration and the establishment, because they're all the same. Now, if there would have been no Trump, there probably more than likely would not have been an operation like this named QAnon. But if there would have been a Hillary Clinton, it would have been something else. Just like now there's a Joe Biden, it's going to be something else. It's always going to be something. If we keep going down the road that we're going and we have our loyalties to our parties, what we see as the lesser of two evils, if we can continue being loyal to them instead of to America and the American people, even if it's someone that you disagree with, they're always going to continue doing this to us. They're always going to be in control, and there's always going to be independent contractors making between $3 and $6 million a year. It's always going to be that way. There's many reasons that I'm coming out to expose a lot of this stuff. We have to see that our country is not going to last much longer. The Republicans are not going to save it. The Democrats are not going to save it. MAGA's not going to save it. The progressive far left is not going to save it. Only we as a nation can save it. Our nation was structured on particular values, which so happen to be Christian values, was it not? Now, everyone has the freedom of religion, which means you have a right to not be a Christian if so you choose. But as a Christian, I'm okay with that because God gave everyone free will. I'm not going to hate you for that. It's not my job to hate you for that. I'm only going to see you as a brother or a sister that is an American citizen. We're brothers and sisters, no matter our beliefs. And I'm going to try to have dialogue with everyone so we can figure out the truths, we can figure out the problems, and we can take our country back. And I would recommend everyone do the same. And listen, it ain't easy. It is not easy. But we have to do it. We have to break this vicious cycle that has been created for us. We have to. Our country relies on it, and every faith in the United States relies on it. The foundation of everything that this is was fake. It was not done for any other reasons than nefarious reasons. It was not done to expose the truth, expose the deep state, all that. It was not done for that. It was done to manipulate the people and cause division. There was no truth in anything to do with this. None.
Well, let me ask you about a disinformation operation. What's the nature of a disinfo op? How is that run? Because I see a lot of people saying, well, you can't tell me that some of the things that the Q platform put out aren't true. And I thought, well, isn't that what a disinfo op is? Don't they peddle like 95% truth so they can slip the lies through, or is that wrong?
No, it's the opposite. It's 95% lies with 5% truth. So what you do is you jumble the truth with so many lies that you can no longer tell the difference between a truth and a lie. That's how people get divided, where you no longer know the truth. QAnon was created, but now other teams, which were technological teams that work with this agency, they would use the ghost post and the micro targeting. They would target specific people. They love to target leaders of religious entities, and they love to just pound them with false truths until it becomes truth to them, and then they have a lot of followers, so they get up and they repeat that, and they falsify the information to the fact on social media and the media in general to where it seems legit. And then whenever you can manipulate the leader of the administrations to regurgitate the lies, where the people automatically think, like using trigger words, right? Deep state. How many times did we hear deep state? So that was one of those trigger words. So whenever you hear a word like deep state and you remember that lie that someone told you that has now become your truth is dangerous. There is no your truth. There is only the truth. If it's your truth, it was fabricated. It's very, very dangerous. And both sides do it. Look, like I said before, I'm not just picking on Trump. I worked for the Obama administration. They done it. I worked under the Trump administration. They done it. We done it. So it's not one side's better than the other. They're equally evil. There is no lesser than. There was a lot of things in QAnon and Mind Camp. Like I said, I wasn't going to dissect it, but there was a play written in the 1100s, which is what Mind Camp was based off of, actually. There's a lot of falsehood in this, to where the Jews were catching the Christian babies and sacrificing them and eating them and all that stuff. And we put that in QAnon. We knew that if you talked about harming the innocent, it would play on the Christian's faith. Look, dude, I'm not proud of this. We both know that children are trafficked. We both know that the United States is number one for receiving the sexually exploited children. We are the number one consumer of everything that is pedophilia and sex trafficking. We are. QAnon turned out to be a whole lot bigger than anybody thought. That's why QAnon now covers so many different things. But to get back to the child trafficking, right? QAnon was created because we knew that this small group over here would believe it, and they are mortal enemies to this little small group over here, political enemies, right? And then the masses, the one that can make a change, are already silent. So if you got these arguing with these about whether it's true or not, and these saying that it's not, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, the masses get tired of hearing it. They don't want to hear it. So
check out.
They just tuned it out. That's it. They just wanted the masses that can make a difference just tune you out.
Wow.
They want to do the same thing with me. I haven't mentioned it here because this has nothing, even though I talk politics, it has nothing to do with my political aspirations. But Craig, you know that I'm running for president of the United States, and I'm the only independent that has ballot access in all 50 states, the only one. And I had to really get strategic on getting ballot access, but I know a lot. So they didn't have a choice but to give it to them. I was on both sides, Republican, Democrat. I mean, I had to play both parties. That's what I had to do. They're playing us. I played them. I tell people all the time, our establishment is a massive beast, right? That establishment trained me and turned me into a beast, which was an extension of that main beast. But some things happened to me in my personal life. My first child being born, I resigned. 3 legal arrests. I got shot, tied to a tree, left to die, and poisoned and had a stroke. I'm not supposed to be here right now. Laying in my bed, completely paralyzed on my right side, couldn't speak, couldn't do anything, just thinking to myself, I've got a small child now. What am I going to do? I got a young family. The money's not going to last that long. I'm useless. There is nothing more humbling than being a quote-unquote alpha male and having everything stripped from you and becoming useless. That is the most humbling experience that anyone like me could experience. And our Creator knew that. If anybody ever doubts whether or not they're a creator, they need to come talk to me. I won't push my religious views down your throat, and I'll respect yours. But I can guarantee you that there's a creator, because I'm standing here now and I'm 100% and I'm stronger and sharper than I've ever been. And it is by him why I'm doing what I'm doing now and why I am not afraid of any retaliation, no matter where it comes from, no matter whether it comes from the establishment, from the far right or the far left. I'm not afraid of it because I have a mission and I will not stop until the Creator says, okay, it's time to go home. And, I also want to tell the people that are here, again, if I'm not picking on one side or the other. Man, I hammer the Democratic Party and the things that they did during certain administrations to their base just as hard as I hammer the Republican Party. I don't want people to think that I'm just condemning one side or talking trash about one side. Both sides are crap. I mean, if you go on my website, you'll see my campaign slogan is both parties are SHB. I don't want to say it on here, but that's actually my campaign slogan because it's true.
A lot of my friends that have been in government for, I want to say multiple generations, 40, 50 years, some of them, they say one political party, we're not talking about the citizens, but the political operatives, the political party, one of them is out to absolutely systematically destroy the United States, and the other political party is happy to let them.
Yep.
And where does that leave? Where does that leave we citizens, man? It's like we're a constitutional republic. We are supposed to run this government, run this country, if only we will. And we can't do that if we don't participate and get assertive and hold their feet to the fire in DC and locally.
Well, the only way to hold their feet to the fire is we got to get rid of them. We have to quit. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. We have to stop thinking just because somebody's been in politics forever that they know what they're doing. And we have to stop thinking that someone that is a billionaire has our best interest at heart. Chances are, folks, if you made it through this country that we have, as corrupt as it's been for so long, and you managed to raise the ranks to a billionaire, you did some pretty nefarious things to get there. We also have to think they don't know what we go through. They have no idea. It was my job to actually understand the struggles of people so I would know how to manipulate the people. Well, it wasn't hard because I grew up horrible household. Great mother. My mother's phenomenal. Love her to death. My father was abusive. He was a pedophile. I don't really want to go into that one too much, but he himself was a pedophile. These people don't understand what people actually go through. They don't understand the struggles. They don't know what it's like. Okay, well, am I going to feed my kids or am I going to pay my car note? Am I going to feed my kids or am I going to keep the lights on? Like, they don't understand that and they don't care.
They're too insulated from us. They are too insulated from the ramifications of their abuse of power and authority. That is not healthy for us.
And we, and I mean we, all of us. I don't mean one side or the other, all of us. We have to come together and we have to take our offices back. We have to run for political positions. We have to communicate with one another. And we have to find somewhere where we can meet in the middle as long as it does not violate the Constitution. We have to get our country back. So that means we might have to give and take with one another. That's part of being a constitutional federal republic. The only thing in a constitutional federal republic that is written in stone and cannot be violated is the Constitution. Anything outside of that, it is our duty to come together, communicate with one another, and find common ground and move forward and continue making a future for our generations and generations to come. We have to do that. Man, I could talk about this, and there's so many. I lived on the border. I could talk about the border and what's really going on at the border. What's really, really going on in the border, but that we'll have to have a conversation about that another day. There's so many things that have happened to us to manipulate our train of thought and to manipulate our faith. things like this that are not true cause us to think it's okay for us to condemn our brothers and sisters that do not believe in the falsehoods that we believe in. We have to stop believing in things like this so we can come together and we can take our country back. The only way that we're going to do it, I hear a lot of different theories. I hear people say you got to start at the top. I hear people say that you got to start at the local level. The truth is, you got to start at both. Me, myself, because of the knowledge I have, and I do know a great deal about the government, how it works, how it's supposed to work versus how it really works. And I went to the top. The presidential platform is the largest platform as far as getting truth out if you choose to tell the truth. And there's a lot of truth that needs to be told. So I went to the top. We need to strategically, as a people, we need to go to the top and we need to go to the bottom. And we need to get people elected that are like us at the top and at the bottom so we can work together to clear everything out in between. That's the only way. If you start at the bottom, you'll never get up high enough. If you start at the top, they're just going to demonize you and ostracize you and get rid of you. So it has to be a joint effort. It's the only way. And the reason why I chose independent, other than the fact that I despise parties, because in order for an independent to get elected, that means that the masses, so all these silenced people, the ones that I told you about that were intentionally silenced, they have to get fed up and they have to say, you know what, we want to change. We want something different. We're tired of being silenced. We want to be heard. And they have to elect someone, and there's enough of them, if they'll rally together, there's enough of them to get an independent elected. And once that independent gets elected, you know, we've heard the term drain the swamp and all that stuff. Well, you elect that independent, you have crushed the entire structure of the establishment. You have cracked the dam. The dam will start leaking until the dam blows out, and it will drain itself out.
Makes sense to me. I tell you what does not make sense is what we've got now. Trying the same thing over and over again with these lifelong politicians. We just see that we're being lied to and betrayed. We're destroying our energy. We're destroying our economy. We're abandoning our border, abandoning our sovereignty. The people are demoralized. Our law enforcement and military are demoralized. It's just evil. It's wicked what's happened. And I think faith in our Creator, faith in each other, and restore hope by just standing up and asserting our power and realizing we have the authority if we will exercise it, is, for me, helps me feel like, okay, that's where the hope is. If we all start, if the lights come on for us each and go, okay, wow, this is what we can do together. It's still set up that way, but if we don't hurry, they're gonna eliminate our ability to fight back entirely.
Oh, for sure. Listen, Einstein said the definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different end result. In my lifetime, I can only speak for my lifetime. So from 1983 to all the way to 2023, we have elected the same type of official for the last 40 years. Whether you want to admit it or not, we have. Whether they were lifelong politics or lifelong construction workers that played in politics their entire life to get to where they were at, it's still politicians. It's still corruption. It's still evil. And it's still people that are not for the American people. And we have to change that. And we have to stop standing behind people that order people like who I used to be to create things like this to manipulate the people. We just have to stop. Listen, y'all don't have to vote for me. I'm not here trying to get votes. I just want you to wake up, because it is created to make you think you're awake when you're actually in a coma.
Let me ask you a question. What can we, the citizens, do about the independent contractors operating directly against we, the people, here in the continental United States?
With the way it stands now, nothing. When I get elected, there will be no independent contractors. It shouldn't exist. It's a direct violation of the Constitution and the rights of the people. You got to understand, these people are in a position financially to where if they even destroy the country, they're still going to exist. They'll just go to work for the other guy, the other country, the conqueror, or whatever. They will not be eliminated. They'll continue to exist, so they don't care. But they do it for the power and the money. Listen, power and money is addictive. I can personally speak to that. When you have money and you are in a position to where you can manipulate entire communities that you were dropped off in for years. And you can manipulate, like what we did with this, the world. That power that it's so addictive. It's this unnatural high.
That's what we're finding is the ultimate motive for those that are raping, torturing, and murdering children.
Yes, I mean,
personal wealth and power, they'll do anything for it. They don't seem like they grasp that. I'm stunned
they don't
that they
care.
Don't get it.
They're just living their version of heaven on earth. That's it. That's all they care about. Listen, I know this. I was one of them.
It's just so upsetting to watch what people resort to for $1. I mean, I'm just so sick. The harm to the little ones is what drives me. They're broken heart, and it's not okay.
No, it's not.
I love the idea of people learning the truth and seeing around the deceit, seeing through that veil of deceit and going, aha, we see what you scumbags have been doing against us, and we're going to link arms, all of us citizens, and we're going to unite, and we're going to stand up against you evil ones, and we're going to restore legitimacy and restore a safer place for kids. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Yeah, that's what motivates me.
Well, it is me now. You know, since I had children, I had a change in my life and I see things differently. Listen, my motivations have completely changed. The nonprofit up to this point where we're doing the Survivor Center and all that, it's been funded completely out of pocket. Now I'm running out of money, but it's been completely out of pocket. The campaign, completely out of pocket. I did a lot of horrible things to make that money. I knew that I had to do something good with that money or dispose of it. So I'm doing good with that money. I have a unique set of skills. Now I can use those skills for the good instead of for the bad. And that's why we run operations. Me and my team, we just go in and we get the kids. You know, we do a lot of investigating of child sex cults. We go in and we get the children. That's what my whole life's about now. I don't care about the money. The money is needed to do good, but I don't care about the money. And I'm constantly chastised by my campaign team because I refuse to ask people for money. I figured I've done enough damage. I don't need to get into their pockets. For the nonprofit, I have for the Survivor Center and the operations we run, I don't ask people for money. I just open my wallet. If I can change, anybody can change. If I can change and become the man that I am now, there's hope for anything, including our country. Wow. Because I was as low as they got. I was the serpent at one time that slithered across the ground.
I celebrate anybody changing their ways and healing and doing good with the rest of their days. There is hope, and we are the hope. We, the people, are the hope. We, the people, are in charge. We just have to realize that, realize our power, and walk like it, walk like we understand it. We are the voters that decide who goes and represents us. And if we get properly assertive, we can force their hand, and we must do it. So, Phillip, I want to thank you for sharing the information here. We need to all be able to have civil discussions. If we disagree, air it out and do it civilly and learn from each other instead of slamming the door and running to our neutral corners.
I just want to tell the people we got this. There is no losing this country. We will not lose this country. I don't want to see it get worse before it gets better, but I'll guarantee each person, no matter where you believe, whatever you believe or where you are on this spectrum politically, I'll guarantee you this country will not fall.
Right. United we stand, everybody.
That's right.
We'll see you.